What's up? It's your boy Reemus, and welcome to the ChampSet podcast, the podcast for champions. Hey, welcome back to the ChampSet podcast, the only podcast where we talk about what it takes to become a champion in the sports world. So today we're going to be talking about the Errol Spence Jr. fight versus Mikey Garcia, the outcome, my opinion, but more importantly, what is it and what are the points that we can learn from that fight and those two great fighters. So if you don't already know, Errol Spence Jr. dominated Mikey Garcia in 12 rounds to get a unanimous decision. It was such a dominant performance from Errol Spence that every single judge gave every single judge gave Errol Spence every single round. And to be honest, it was expected. Before the fight, I thought to myself, Mikey Garcia has skills, but the weight difference is just a bit, too much. It doesn't make any logical sense for Mikey Garcia to pull this off. But what you love about fights like this is that for a second, you're imagining, you're thinking, you're just wondering, can it actually happen? Like, will he pull it off? Will he pull it off? But it wasn't to be. He didn't pull it off. And yeah, it was just like I would say if he was a strictly logical person going on the weight differences, or you're someone that appreciates weight classes and the disparities between the weight divisions, then you would have expected Errol Spence Jr. to win. The only thing I could say is that perhaps Errol Spence should have got a knockout or a TKO. It was competitive in the early goings, but Errol Spence was still edging out all of the early rounds. And then about at the 6th round, he really started to crank up the pressure, throwing more combinations. Up until that point, he had been landing the left straight hand from the southpaw stance. And from the 6th round onwards, he was just landing more combinations, putting punches together. And every single time that Mikey Garcia stepped forward or tried to throw punches and bunches, Spence would literally just take a step back, or he would dip down or quickly defend and just peel out to the side by pivoting. And really, it was a masterclass performance, to be honest. But at the same time, I have to give Mikey Garcia his credit. These Mexicans, I'm telling you, these Mexicans are tough. I would say that Mexicans and Irish are the toughest fighters, like as a whole demographic in the world. They just, like, I like to joke around and say that the Irish are just the European versions of the Mexicans and vice versa, because those guys, they can take punches so well, and going into the later rounds, Mikey Garcia he was still actually coming forward, even though he was taking so many shots. So I would say that there's a lot to be learned from that fight in terms of skills, but also in terms of mentality, mindset, and the aspirations that a fighter can have, and how a fighter makes himself a great. It's interesting because a lot of people kind of say, weight divisions are there for a reason, you shouldn't even try. But it doesn't make sense to me, because the only reason you would be called great or be seen as someone who's magnificent or is if you're able to do things that not everyone else can do, if you're able to do things that not every fighter can do. And that's what Mikey was trying to prove. For example, we fought the same thing a few years ago when Manny Pacquiao was fighting fighters, and he surprised us every time when he would dominate the bigger fighters. And that's the reason why he's known as a legend. Oh yeah, and by the way, at the end of the Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence fight, Manny Pacquiao came into the ring. And, when Manny Pacquiao was asked, is this a fight that could happen? He just said, yeah, why not? Manny's just such a warrior. I really don't think, even though it doesn't make sense for me, at least for me, for Manny Pacquiao to get in the ring at this point with such a young, hungry lion, someone who is actually naturally bigger than him, because you have to remember, really and truly, Manny's just a super lightweight. Naturally, he even says that. Manny, I think he personally would take him on, but who would I have in that fight? I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm not too sure. I think I would maybe slightly give the edge to Spence, because he is a skilled fighter and he's younger. He's gonna bring that dominant kind of energy with his skills. And even if Manny Pacquiao was more skilled and of course more experienced, his skills kind of rely a bit on physical capabilities. But anyway, going back to the point about daring to be great. Someone made a comment on my Instagram post and he said, there are weight divisions for a reason. Garcia, now you can just go back down. Like, you got your ass whooped. I don't even know why you tried, basically. And I commented back, not that really his opinion's a problem. It's really not, but I'm just saying, I commented back and I said, bro, you got to try and attempt to be great, because if you don't, you'll never know what you could have achieved. We don't look at fighters as great because they do what was expected of them. We look at fighters as being great, or people as being great, because they was able to do what no one expected them to. We look at fighters as great because they done what no one expected them to do. So that's what I take from Garcia. You have to test yourself. Because, for example, imagine if Garcia went through that period and he didn't fight Errol because his brothers put him off. And he always wondered to himself, what would have happened if I fought Errol Spence Jr.? Like, what would have happened? Like, what if I won that fight? I would have been known as a legend. That would have been a great record, a great name to have on my record. So people these days are so scared to take an L. I learned from Customado, and he said that you should refuse to lose, but he also said that you shouldn't take losing personal. Losing does not define you. And if you lose in a manner where you have a great performance, really it just shows your great traits. So that's what I think a champion, or a champion in training, or an ambitious fighter, a fellow ambitious fighter, can take from that. Dare to be great. And if you pull it off, you will get so many accolades. And if you lose, it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, because we still get to see your ability. The other thing to also take from this fight, I personally think, is the power of your hometown support. And this is the key to getting your first ever fans. On this podcast, if you don't already know, I give out social media tips and media tips to fighters who want to build their own brand. And one of the biggest things you can do to build your own brand is utilize hometown support. These are the first people you should be targeting. And you know why it is? It's because you represent them. If you do great, they can say, yeah, that guy's from where I'm from. He basically is me. So people always get behind you so quickly. You represent them. So they're happy to allow you to lead them into greatness. And I say that because Errol Spence Jr., of course, was fighting in his hometown of Dallas, Texas. And before the fight, you can see a post on my Instagram where he was talking about the fact that he loves fighting in front of his hometown supporters. He loves the support from them. And it's just such a gold mine for all fighters and all people in general to get support from. Like, you can get your first fans if you appeal to your hometown people. They will get behind you, no problem. Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about today. I'm doing a giveaway for anyone that's interested. If you'd like to be entered in a giveaway for boxing gloves, I'm going to be giving away RDX or Everlast gloves to one lucky winner in about 1 day's time. What you need to do is subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure you follow on IG. It's Reemus Boxing, Reemus Boxing. Comment on one of the latest posts on the fight, one of the highlight posts that I've put out on this fight. And at the end of it, hashtag Errol Spence Jr. or Mikey Garcia, and you're automatically entered into the giveaway, and I'll pick a random person in 1 day's time. So that's it from me. I hope you learned something from this podcast. Hope to see you in the next one. Stay focused, champ. Let's get this greatness. ChampSet.